This week's Hometown Happenings is brought to you by the Detroit Lakes School District.
Welcome to Hometown Happenings. I'm Carol McCarthy here at the Detroit Lakes School District Administration Building with the administrator, Superintendent Doug Froke, my guest today. And Superintendent Froke, I wanted to talk to you first of all about the project, the building project that you are working on. You and the school board are working on right now. Last year there was a referendum that did not pass, and that was to build a middle school and to do some of renovations for safety and space issues. And now you're working on something else. You went back to the drawing board, as they say, and working on another plan to hopefully present to voters this spring.
Perhaps. That's kind of been the focal point, Carol, is that folks didn't like that plan. Last November with 1,000-seat elementary, and I know that they thought that perhaps elementary kids on the north side of town, in terms of a little bit further out, was not a good thing. We heard a lot of that after the election. So yeah, we did. We essentially went back to the drawing board. We scrapped everything and worked with folks on, okay, here are issues, and they're real, and they were only magnified by our enrollment growth this year with the 2014-15 school year. So where we show our enrollment is up significantly over this time a year ago. So those issues of space still continue, and probably we're feeling it a little bit more this year than we have in years past. So all the forecasts seem to be coming to fruition in terms of moderate growth, but that still puts pressure on our space. So we started in the spring then, in the summer, after having listened to folks and came with about 7 options that were vetted by some folks from the community over the summer months, and now those options are for all intent and purposes down to about 3. That involves renovations at all buildings. It's not really supported just by, it doesn't have a lot of support just because we put pressure on some of the existing buildings with population in certain areas of town. So but that still remains on the table. And then the potential for an addition onto the high school, and then the construction of a high school on the south lot. We're in the south lot of that existing high school. And of course that means grade configuration situations too, and so we have to work through all of those types of things here in the next few months with the plan if we were coming for an election in May or quite possibly even in the later than May. We had a target of May 12th for an election. We think it's going to be difficult to hit that target, but that's okay. It's just it's taking time. We really are working with the community to try and come up with the right solution, and it seems to be working. People are really encouraged. We had over 110 people at the last community meeting. That's a lot, and so we're just thankful and we're encouraged about what we're hearing from folks. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay. All right. So we're talking to Superintendent Doug Froke from Detroit Lakes School District about the plan to possibly build a new high school or expand the old high school. Not the old. Well, it is an old high school. Yeah. There's some issues there. Just looking at a new plan to deal with our space and safety issues, essentially. And you were saying how right now our numbers are up as far as you're seeing that obviously in the elementary schools and the kindergarten classes, and that is going to be the trend right now. I mean, for the next 20 years, or I suppose, how far out do you look?
Typically, when you make an enrollment projection, really to have a real comfort level with the numbers, about as far out as you can go is about 5 years. You don't know what things might happen in the community. That especially, and I'm not necessarily talking about Detroit Lakes, but anywhere, because of what might happen to the economy and how that impacts industry, and then in turn how that impacts families and how that impacts enrollment. So all of these things are tied together. So you really, really, really want to take a look at how is your community doing from an economic standpoint, and what does that mean for what might be the future in Detroit Lakes. So when we talk about enrollment, we go out about 5 years.
Okay.
And then, but the thing that stands out is the fact that we look at where we're at relative to the Fargo-Moorhead area and the forecasts that they have relative to their population and the impact and what we've been told from the state demographer's office, the impact that the Highway 10 corridor would have on Detroit Lakes by virtue of the FM area. And of course, naturally, a 45-minute commute for folks who want to work in the Fargo-Moorhead area is not that big a deal. And so we benefit from that if folks want to live in the lakes and then drive. So those are the kinds of things that you look at on a larger scale that could solidify or again grow moderately growth where Detroit Lakes is concerned.
All right, Detroit Lakes School Superintendent Doug Froke is my guest today on Hometown Happenings. We're going to take a quick break and be back with more after this. All right, welcome back to Hometown Happenings. I'm Carol McCarthy here with Detroit Lakes School Superintendent Doug Froke. We're talking about a building project that the school district is looking at, possibly dealing with a new high school, expanding the high school, and also renovating some of the buildings to deal with space and safety issues. Superintendent Froke, now you said you kind of gave us a timeline as you would really, the ultimate goal in an ideal situation would be to go to the voters in May or this spring sometime. But in the meantime, you're still gathering data and you're still collecting input from the community. And how would somebody go about, if they want to have a little input into this project?
And that kind of goes. I like how you frame that up, Carol. I think it really lays out the fact that we started over, and that we continue to receive ideas, both at the board level and administrative level from folks who. Have you ever thought of this? Yeah, I mean, and that's well, we can say the beauty of this project is that there are a number of different options here that we can look at to try and solve space issues. And I don't know if it's appropriate or not. A number of different ways to skin this cat because it just is. There are a lot of options, and so. If folks want to continue to participate, absolutely, we welcome that. If come up to me on the street if you want to and say, I think you should do this, because we may not have thought about it, and that's just what's gone on with it, because there are so many different ways to go, and board members in the same fashion, but. To really get at, take a look at some of the information we've put out on our website, which is the dlschools.net website, and there's a link to take you through all of that information so that you can become a little bit aware of what we've done, where we've been, what we've got, and the information around the backdrop of the whole process. So anyway, I hope that would help. Again, that's http. What is that? /www.dlschools.net.
All right. Okay, Superintendent Froke, we're running out of time, but I know we'll be checking in with you periodically to give us an update on the project and what else is going on in the school district. And thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you.
All right. Detroit Lakes School Superintendent Doug Froke, my guest today on Hometown Happenings. I'm Carol McCarthy for TV3.